So we've just heard that another person has been stabbed, and this is the second time that the perpetrator, I think we're supposed to use the word alleged, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the alleged perpetrator has done it again. This time, slicing fingers where they're nearly hanging off. Now, this is the second time in a space of a month that this person has stabbed someone. And never was he locked up, pending inquiries, was free to roam the streets once again. And the trauma that it has on the victims and the people around, and even the person's parents, must be devastating. And so, to get to the nitty gritty, is how does this happen twice?
Well, it's a technicality because he was arrested and bailed, I believe, for the first offence. Add COVID into that with the way that they're charging people and court appearances and all this malarkey. So that's going to add some time to it. But what should happen is once he's released on bail after the initial arrest, depending on his previous, if they're not going to remand him, then they're going to bail him to an address, his address or his mum's address or whatever. So that's what I believe has happened, as much as I know. But you will have bail conditions, not to frequent certain areas depending on your offence and all the rest of it. But, the average person will think, hey, I'm on bail. There is a strong chance, given the nature of the offence, that I could be charged and more likely go to prison. So let me keep my arse quiet. That would be the average person.
That would be the normal thing to
person,
do. But no.
But this individual don't seem to act like that and don't know what the circumstances are, but found himself in another hostile and confrontational situation. As a result of that, he's now stabbed somebody else, like you said.
Somebody else's child. That's two children, two individual children. And it doesn't matter on the age, there's somebody's child, and that's affecting every one of those people that are related to the individuals that have been hurt. But I am quite shocked when talking about this situation, because this alleged perpetrator, and I don't mind saying it because I'm actually quite annoyed at the situation, was actually a victim of knife crime themselves.
Yes.
Left in a coma for a few days and severely stabbed in the throat.
Nearly lost the ability to speak also.
Nearly lost the ability to speak.
Lucky.
So I think this was about a year ago, about a year and a bit ago, maybe 2 years, a year and a half ago or so. And because it's a year and a half ago, the recovery of this person that has been injured, you'd think they would be quiet. Mm-hmm. You would think they would lay down gently and just work on building their self-esteem and keeping out of trouble. Mm-hmm. But that's not the case, is it? It isn't the case, because you will know that what I'm actually talking about, not just the awareness or the crime that's happened. What I know is, at the end of the day, that there is alcohol and there is drugs that's fueling this rage also. So you've got a lot of... It's dangerous, very, very, very dangerous to know that if the person is a victim, they've been victimised. Generally, victims, they're so traumatised they don't even want to socialise with people sometimes. But in this case, this person that had it done to them is now doing the revenge. Not even in the same category, but has decided to not been able to contain his anger and using a weapon to destroy somebody else's life. Now, Is do you blame the police for this? Because the police knew the person stabbed someone. They could have done a little bit more, but they've gone back out and they've stabbed again. That doesn't look very good for the police.
Well, hang on. You say the police could have done more.
I said, do you think the police could have been done more? This is my
All
question.
right, okay.
Let's be fair about things.
All right. Do I think the police could have done more? Especially in these times, no. Because they are doing what their mandate is. So, running through it quickly, somebody's stabbed, police are called, police come, ask questions, somebody drops a name, and a day or two later, police find that person and arrest the person for the offence of, let's say, GBH, right? Obviously there's different tiers, attempted murder and
what would you call this then? This is the second time.
Again, I would say this is grievous bodily harm because there's fingers hanging off. Fingers, in essence, aren't vital organs, but they are, because without your fingers, you can't do anything.
Not attempted murder then?
Well, it depends on the circumstances and the lead up to it. So, if this is why it's so difficult. You could die from a single stab wound to the leg if you hit the lateral femoral, which is the biggest vein in the body. So, what was the person's intent when they used the weapon? We've all seen people walking down the street with big slash marks down their face. People do it as a warning. Don't pay me my money next time. That's a reminder to pay my money. It could be that.
The person that he stabbed was hanging on near dear life.
All right, hold on. We know that fingers was hanging off, so what it sounds like to me is the person saw the blade coming, we weren't there, and reached and grabbed for it, which is a natural
Fair enough.
thing. If it's a sharp knife, and it's cut through fingers, that's what, and with violence attached.
Well, according to the situation, is the person that had the fingers sliced was trying to protect another individual from being stabbed.
Oh, again.
Right.
Okay.
So this is why.
So that's the repeat of.
This is another
what's
right.
Last time. Right.
So
Okay.
only a very close person next to that person who was about to get stabbed didn't like what happened, intervened, ended up getting injured in that, but prevented their loved one from being stabbed,
which is only natural,
by this individual once again. I think I can't imagine what the mother or father is going through as far as, where their child is stabbing people. That must play a big issue on them and must really be affecting them. We are going to think like that, but we're also going to say, what could they have done better? Because what could they have done better to prevent their son from doing this?
Right. This is a whole wider debate, isn't it? This brings you back to this snowflake argument and nanny state and all the rest of it. You and I both know some years ago they come out, even just recently now, this year in Scotland, they've passed the law in Scotland, it's not quite here yet, but it will be coming, that it's illegal for you to smack your child. So your child comes home from school with a bad report, being rude to the teacher, hasn't done several homework assignments, and you say, what's going on at school? Don't ask me no questions, Mum, I'm going to my room, play PlayStation. And you grab the child in its collar and give them a backhand or a slap on the legs or a slap on the bum, as we've all been accustomed to. You've now assaulted your child in the eyes of the law, and you can be prosecuted. I'll say that again. You can be prosecuted and charged for that assault on your child. Now, that for me is a dangerous precedent, because If the child run now and go and call police, and police come at this hour, 6 o'clock in the evening,
With false allegations
but the police are likely to, because they're going to take you. They ain't going to write you a £60 fine until you don't do it again. They're going to take you because that ups the police arrest numbers. Okay, you're another now statistic into the system. Then you're going to be bailed and released to appear at court, and then the judge will tell you whatever the fine is or whatever. The trouble with that, like you said now, is if the child is naturally got bad tendencies, he or she will seize upon that and start saying, "Oh, you know,
so
my mum beat me or my dad beat me."
So what you're saying is, I mean, if you go back to when they created Childline, the kids were using that then as a weapon against their parents.
Yeah.
You know, and I think what you're saying is that because the system has taken away parental rights in more ways than one, it doesn't give us much room to maneuver with children. But what they're also saying, especially when you indulge with social services for starters, who are there to protect the children, okay? And a lot of people don't like them, but I know at the end of the day, I'm a child of care myself, so therefore, was I right to be in care? Of course. So therefore, as much as many parents don't like it, if they fix their own back garden, and then most of it wouldn't go this way.
Yes. But if the state is intervening,
yes,
with you trying to fix your own back garden,
but it still learns to communicate effectively. With your children at a very early age and interact with your children at a very early age. Education, talking to them, reading to them, you know, teaching them things rather than sitting on your mobile phones and letting the world educate your children nowadays. That's where I think a lot of us are going wrong, where we're just leaving little... I've got babies, you know, interacting through mobile phones now. You know what I mean? This is the way of the world. It's a digital world.
Yes, it is.
It takes away focus on what natural parent is.
But discipline is discipline.
Yeah, but you don't have to physically hit your children. I'm sorry, but
I disagree.
you can disagree because this is the debate now from a man and a woman's point of view. When men, at the end of the day, have been taught to smack or be smacked or whatever else, then they go on doing it to their girlfriends too. And
I disagree with.
No, they do. Yes, they do. Because the man... Can I speak? Because the man... back in the day, was the man about the house. Women were supposed to be seen and not heard. That's when they brought into equality into the situation when it comes to women's rights and things like that. So I'm sorry, but back in the day, women were beaten. A lot of women were beaten, and it would be like, wait till your father comes home. And then he was seen to be the aggressor rather than the one to love his children. And it would be, wait till your father come home. Why? Why couldn't mother discipline their own child? Why did they wait for the father to come home?
Right. Let me interject there. My mum had 4 children, me being the eldest. If we played up, my mum would beat us with a slipper, a belt, and she would also turn around and say, "You wait till your dad come home." Okay? And that was terrifying. Now, let me tell you why it's terrifying. It's terrifying, and this is important, because this is something that I experienced in my own raising of my child, but it was absent. But you'll understand when I get to the end of what I'm trying to say. You wait till your dad come home. That was terrifying. And it was terrifying because my dad was like a Swiss watch. You could set anything by my dad when he was going to work. And that's all he did. But the crucial element of this is, whilst he's getting ready for work, he'd be standing in the doorway, just like how the doorway's there, putting his shirt and tie on, shining his shoes and getting all ready. And he'd be telling you, you got homework this evening? Yes, Dad. Well, get on with it now. Or bring it, let me see. Yes? There's a book up there, you can get a book. and blah, 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 blah. Behave whilst I'm gone. Don't let your mother have to tell me you've been rude, you're not done it. You have to wash up the dish. When your mother tell you to go and wash up the dish, go and wash up the dish. Don't back talk to your mother. Have respect inside the house. And it was at this hour, like now, 6:30, 7 o'clock, him start work, and he's now leaving. So what is important about that is that I'm just talking about my household, we were forewarned that there would be consequences. So my dad go, and we all know in particular, my mum had 3 sons and 1 daughter. Boys will always ride their mothers. Mum, Dad's gone now. Can we have this? Can we go outside? And your dad said you can't go outside. Don't ask me again. Mum, please, please. Women roll over easy because they want a quiet life. My mum didn't roll over. She insisted upon what she said, and she had the backing of my dad. So if you went against your mum, you get a beating, and she then tells you, you wait till your father coming in the morning. You knew you're going to get your ass cut, as we say back home, before you go to school. And that's not a good way of it. Equally, morning time come now, you're off to school. My dad would dress, and when I say dress us, make sure that we left the house as the school intended us to be at school, with the correct uniform, the correct shoes, and so on and so forth. It's of importance.
It's very important there. So you're showing structure of a household, a joint household, co-parenting together under one household. Unfortunately, there are so many single parents out there, men and women, that don't have that backative, and don't even know how to be a parent properly, because it probably wasn't demonstrated to them in their own world through their own parents. They hushed up things, or again, probably a little bit like, wait till your father come home, or and again, a lot of parents, I hear a lot of parents calling their kids names, and oh, you little, all of those things. I mean, fancy calling your name or swearing at your kids and calling your kids names, those kind of things like that. Total disrespect. It's not cool. It's uncool. And I think if you're talking about the raising of children, then yeah, I think I just I don't want to get thrown out of the what we started on, because there's 101 reasons. It's not always going to be the mother. It could always be it's both angles. You sometimes get the word is parent alienation. Let's use that one. And I asked somebody the other day, do you know what parent alienation is? And they didn't know what it is. I suggest do a Google search, use a search engine to find out what it is. I can teach you, but I do that in a workshop and go from there. But the bottom line is, if you condone your children with weapons out there, if you condone it, and you sit back and you do nothing, and you know they've done something, then you might as well be driving that knife, that weapon as well, because that's someone's child. Now, if the shoe was on reverse and that happened to your child, what would you expect to be done? What would you do? So, in this breath, when it comes through children, some mothers and fathers will protect. Some people will say, you do the time, you do the crime, you do the time. And some people will just pretend it never happened. So, thank you for your expertise in the background. It isn't for me to do or say about seeking revenge. I think seeking revenge is... it always works round where it becomes calmer again. So just learn to maintain that aggression and that anger, and teach your children how to maintain that aggression and anger. Also, education education, education, education. That's all you can do. I don't like hearing what I heard. How does it affect me when you know it's somebody very close or somewhere along the line? If it me or you, if it was somebody that we knew and it happened, that's got to be traumatizing on the person hearing it.
The trouble is, the person that's hearing what their child is up to a certain extent, is complicit by providing a safe haven. Yeah? Again, like I said, without going too much into it. Now we got kids driving more expensive cars than their parents could ever afford. Parking it outside the house where they live, where their parents live, and coming in. All right, mum. All right, dad. And mum and dad don't think to ask, yo, me I work for 40 years and just about keeping that old jing banger there on the road. Where you get that from?
How did you manage to get those?
You don't get up till midday?
Yeah.
You're gone out, you don't come back until 3-4 o'clock in the morning?
How do you make that money?
You've
got to be asking, where are they getting the money from?
And
where are they?
They're allowing the kids.
How are they feeding their habits? Yeah.
How are they feeding their habits or whatever? You know what the problem is? The problem is that the parents now. Well, you said education. In many cases, the parents aren't educated themselves.
I think many of the parents that are oblivious to their children are unwell. I have to say that some of the people are. They don't even know how to handle themselves, let alone anything else. When we look at people that do crime, there is a history there, isn't there? And it's all about upbringing, learnt behaviour. But I don't think anybody would expect their child to be so malicious. But that's what keeps the world going, isn't it? Crime, mental health,
it does
pharmaceuticals.
You do get the odd child who had everything when he or she grows up or was growing up, and then they turn out terrible. And then on the flip side, you have children who have nothing and turn out to be professors and scholars of the world. But in this instance, for me, the parents, I guess there's a lot of what's taking place that would have been seen. There's a reputation to uphold here also with family name and all this type of nonsense. That's what the individual is doing. Do you know who my dad is and this and all that? Because that name would have scared people many years ago. It doesn't really happen now, but it's still happening, and this is a clear example. The younger generation are, before you were part of a gang and you were part of a firm or you were part of a family. Now families are more fragmented, but that, do you know who my dad is and who my uncle is and all that. And once you hear that name, you better not mess with him because his uncle's this and he did that and she did this, and that's what a lot of it is.
On a final note, what would be the word of warning for people out there? Any good advice?
Try and get from A to B as quickly and safely as possible without engaging with foolishness and troublesome people and behaviour. If you see problem, step the other side and go about your business. I did a training course many years ago, and the chap said, run away to run away another day. That's what he told us.
And I would say, avoid negativity, pick your circle wisely.
Indeed.
Watch out who your children are hanging around. If they do have a reputation, perhaps at the end of the day, I say children got a reputation. There's no point ostracising. It makes things worse, doesn't it, sometimes? See if they need any help or support, if their parents or something needs any help, because it does. When you start saying, I remember my parents. I remember my dad, he was so rude. He's not here now, but he used to name call. And he used to call this particular girl, a Concord. His nose coming around today, he used to say, his nose, those names hurt. So, And then he would say, well, why do they have to come around? Why can't you go around there? Stay away from that person. They're trouble. They foresaw the trouble. But did I stay away? No, because I didn't see that those people were trouble.
No, because
I didn't.
It's
I
your
didn't
friend,
see
isn't
that.
it?
Yeah. But I think it was more of, you just look closely. Somebody's being neglected.
I think something you just said there as well, the community element of it nowadays has gone. Something I suffered a lot when I was growing up was I'd stray from the path where my dad told me, like, don't go over there. Stay
We all
around
did
there.
that.
Right, we all did that. Hear the joke now. You know, my dad would say to me a day or two later, I told you don't go over. No, you didn't go over there. No, my friend say he see you over there, and you think, well, where did I get? Nobody never said nothing to me, but sure
People
enough,
used to tell. So what you're saying is
you were
people
seen.
used to tell
Yes.
and grass up
Yes.
on the
You would-
friends'
yes,
children.
yes,
That's
you-
right. Because I
yes,
used to say,
yes.
if you catch my child doing something bad, let me know, please.
Yes.
In fact, tell him off, please. And nowadays it's like parents are like, don't tell my children nothing. And I think that is
Right.
where
There
we've
is-
lost that community spirit, because they always say it takes a village to raise a child. That's not what's happening anymore. Everybody's off doing their own thing, and nobody really sort of has that family value anymore.
And you as an adult now have to think twice. You witnessed it the other week down in the town, where you couldn't really say anything to children.
Yep,
So
if
the
you're
only
really
thing
careful.
that you could do is to call the police, wait for the police to come, and then point, yeah, he's one, and he was involved too. You can't go up to a child like you could years ago. And
because you don't know if they're going to pull a knife out on you.
Right. Yeah, and even if they don't pull a knife out on you, the way that they're going to speak to you is so
Rude
and disrespectful that you might find yourself wanting to give them a backhand, which gonna get you in trouble.
So have a word with your children. Ask them to watch their P's and Q's when they're in a public place, because it brings shame upon yourself. It makes you puts you in a bad light. I'm sure you're not all like that, and don't realise what your kids are doing out there, because kids will be kids and they follow fashion. But make sure the fashion is a correct dress code, rather than I don't know, don't even need any words here for this aggression, this bullying, the playground stuff. It's got to stop. Got to stand up for these children's rights and educate what you can do better to help people, and how you can get through to these parents out there whose children are committing serious crime. It's not to ostracise, it's to teach wisely.